Look, I warned you it wasn't going to be pretty, but rest assured, there is some semblance of method to my madness. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Read, Share, Repeat, where we discuss books from the perspective of an aspiring fantasy author. Me, Carrie Share. And today we're doing something I've never had the opportunity to do before, and that is a bookshelf reorganization. As you guys may know by now, I didn't really have the opportunity to collect a lot of physical books up until last year because we were living in a house that just did not have a lot of extra space for bookshelves especially. So after the fire and we moved into the new house, I took the opportunity to get 2 large bookshelves, and since then it has been my goal to fill them up with all the physical books I didn't have the opportunity to purchase before. It's been a long, slow journey, but finally the first of these 2 bookshelves is now completely full. And the second of the 2 that I have been using as sort of a display is being called upon, and therefore I need to kind of reorganize where everything is going. Obviously, you can't spend very much time on the book side of YouTube without seeing the extremely aesthetic style bookshelves and the different ways of organizing one's physical collection. And I really gave it a lot of thought about how I want to do my shelves. Personally, I've never been a big aesthetic girly. I just don't have the sensibility for it, nor do I have a large enough collection to justify some of the particular aesthetic methods. Color coordinating doesn't really seem like the right way to go, nor organizing by genre, as I read pretty much one genre. And I also don't have a lot of knickknacks and things to spread throughout the shelves. It's mostly just books and a couple of nerdy items. But I've made my choice. I'll go into a little bit more detail later. But the first main thing is that I still would like to have a display shelf. And I do have a third bookshelf that has been with me throughout the years, one of the only ones we had in the old house that is a little bit beat up because of how well used it is. And it sits just outside of my bedroom in kind of a nook. So what I think I would do, since that is in a more common area, is use that shelf for the display and put some of my more prettier editions out there, like all of my fairy loots and some of my collections. So that way it just really looks much nicer on display. And then I also had a fun little idea. We'll see if I deploy it, but it would also be out in that shelf. So right now it is being used as sort of a catch-all for any nonfiction or random books that really didn't fit on these shelves. Need to clear all those off, figure out a place for those specifically, and then get kind of patched up. Some of the pegs are missing. I've bought some replacement for the pegs so that all the shelves will sit evenly, and then just kind of dusting and tidying up before I put my nicer editions on there. So that's where we'll start. So my first order of business was to, of course, clean off the display shelf. As I mentioned, it had been functioning kind of as a catch-all for any random books as well as some other things, and it was pretty dusty as well. So I took a few minutes to kind of get it all straightened out, and after I got everything off of it, I realized that the big gap in the shelving was actually because there is a completely missing shelf, and I could not find this missing shelf. I filled in the big space with some decorations that will make it look a little less ridiculous, at least I hope. And then I just played with the configuration of all of my special editions, mostly from Fairy Loot, but any of my other pretty books, some of the Red Tower ones, and the new box set of the Ember and the Ashes Quartet, just because of the artwork on the spines. I thought that was really pretty. I did briefly consider putting the complete Expanse series out there just because it's a complete series, but I decided it didn't really fit, so I left that. And then I did something a little fun with one of these display shelves. As I was thinking over how I wanted to configure these display shelves, I knew I wasn't going to have enough books to really fill them all out. So I thought I would do just a little fun shelf that could be changed frequently and display books that are relevant to me. Specifically, one book that was a recent favorite, the most recent book that I read, and then the next physical book on my TBR. The most recent favorite book that I've read was, of course, The Bone Ships which was also the most recent physical book that I finished. So I decided to put Sword Heart out instead with the other two, just because it is such a gorgeous edition and I really love showing it off and it might stay there. So that was my initial configuration of the shelves. And then after I was done, I decided to actually move all of my manga over to the shelf as well. I forgot that the shelves in my bedroom are a little bit wider than this one, so they didn't all conveniently fit on one shelf, but that's okay. I think it still works being out here. I am going to have to eventually figure out a better place for the nonfiction and random books that I have, but the bottom shelf of the display will be fine for now. And that is pretty much it. This is the glorious aftershot of the display shelf. Again, that second shelf will be changing periodically as I continue working through my physical TBR. And then I moved on to the main event. And I had finally decided earlier in the day how I was going to arrange the bedroom shelves. And suffice it to say, it's not aesthetic. In fact, it's probably going to look really, really ugly to most people, but it works for me. So basically what I decided was that I would split the shelves into one shelf of books I haven't yet read and one shelf of books that I have read. And yes, that does in fact mean breaking up series. Like I said, ugly, right? But then I decided to further break down the red shelf, and the very top shelf so far is just the books that I have annotated, while all the other ones below that are books that I have read, not necessarily physically. It could have been an ebook that I read but and since bought, but have not annotated. And I'll be the first to admit that I do not like looking up there and seeing the first of so many series missing from their partners, but I'm hoping that that motivates me to actually read more series continuations, which is a big struggle for me. But yeah, like I said, it's not the prettiest and there's definitely a lot of empty space now, but already just looking at it, it just feels more intentional, and if not quite pretty, then definitely designed with a purpose as opposed to just being functionary. And I did try to use a couple of knickknacks to make it look a little bit nicer. I don't know if I succeeded. And you should know that this already looks differently because I received my pre-order of A Drop of Corruption today, so I had to go in and move some stuff around again to make space for it. But that is the joy and pain of constantly expanding your collection anyway. So this is the after shot of both shelves. Like I said, it looks slightly different now, but that's okay. And I did decide to keep my two super long series on the same shelf regardless of alphabetical order, so don't mind me. Look, I warned you it wasn't going to be pretty, but rest assured, there is some semblance of method to my madness. Read, unread. Yes, obviously the unread shelf is quite a bit more full than the read shelf. The idea is as I pull books off of this shelf, they will come over here, which therefore means it's going to be kind of ever changing. But that's kind of the fun of it, right? There's only one thing left to do, and that is to update my spreadsheet. So in my Excel spreadsheet of all of the books that I own, there is a section for where they are located. And currently everything just says bedroom shelf, except for my display book over my writing desk. So now it's time to go through every single one of my physical books and give all of these shelves different labels. And with that, we conclude my very first bookshelf reorganization. It's pretty unorthodox because, like I said at the beginning, I'm not very aesthetic, but I do think that this method I've chosen is very me. Let me know in the comments what you think of this method. And with that, thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. If you like my content and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe or consider leaving a comment down below. In my next video, I will have a weekly reading vlog for you. I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then. Bye.